It would be a wonderful opportunity to show what's at stake for New York City, because it's not actually the lowest income neighborhoods where people have Medicaid, Medicare.
I think the New York world is doing something really different and really challenging. We're trying to get people to be interested in their government, to really examine their government, to really question their government.
It's an opportunity to kind of create a newsroom from the ground up, and as a startup to have flexibility and to cover New York government in kind of an interesting new way.
We actually call this kind of a teaching hospital approach towards journalism. They are doing real journalism that gets picked up by lots of sites and that also gets traffic to our own site, but they're doing it under the tutelage of highly experienced journalists.
We're really here at the New York World to step up and both deepen the coverage that's out there and also enhance the capacity of other newsrooms to do this kind of work.
The New York World got off to a very fast start, a faster one than we anticipated when the site broke the story about the bus in Brooklyn that segregates men and women on a publicly supported bus.
We posted that story actually on the New York World's first day of operation and thought, okay, that's a nice story.
It got picked up everywhere, not just by the New York Post, the New York Times, but by BBC, The Guardian, a number of sites all over the world.
The New York World is a project that not only fosters investigative journalism, but it fosters interesting, new, original ways of telling stories and delivering that to the wider population.
We often will take very mundane things that you or I might not think twice about how life works in New York City, and say, well, actually, this is what's really going on.
And normally, if you were beginning journalists, you wouldn't have that big responsibility of finding data, organizing a crowdsourcing project, writing articles, and turning it into a multi-month-long project.
So my job at the New York World as a reporter has been very different from my past jobs at the Miami Herald and the New York Times. It's up to you to come up with the next day's stories. It's really up to you to figure out the most innovative way to present this new information.
Queens Chronicle is our new partner this week, which is great, and they want to run our stuff weekly.
While we are making efforts to build traffic to the website, it's just as important to us to provide stories that other news organizations can and do use.
My biggest project was, to date, this privately owned public spaces crowdsourced map. And it's been hugely successful. We've collaborated with the Brian Lehrer Show.
Elaine, where and what are privately owned public spaces, and how did Zuccotti Park become one of these?
Well, I first found out about these spaces about 4
Ultimately,
weeks ago.
if the site's successful, it'll be successful not only on its own terms as doing good journalism, but it'll provide kind of a feedback loop to the journalism school.
The New York World is run from the J School, and that gives us the opportunity to consult with some of the best professionals in the field, from Alyssa Katz, our editor, to Bill Gruskin, to Dean Lemon, to Sheila Coronel. It's like having a world of investigative journalists just upstairs.
It's a really risky and exciting time to be a journalist, because you don't really know what changes are going to come in the next 5, even less years than that. But I wanted to know that I was going to be a part of those changes, and working at a place like the New York World really makes me feel comfortable in the kind of journalist that I'm going to become.
It's a learning environment that isn't otherwise available within a journalism school, and it's a really unique space, and I think a really critical part of a journalism education.
Raved about the story and also said, how did you get that? You wanted to know if we had a source at City Hall. Did we just kind of figure it out because we're really smart?